Okay, in this Google Meet, what I will do is I will go over the midterm review that I shared with everyone as a Google Doc before the March break. And I'll talk a little bit about what to expect on the midterm. And then I will just take any questions that you have. And so if we go to the course website, you will see that I posted an announcement this morning reminding you that the midterm is coming up, and the midterm is in 3 days on Thursday, and it's being written at St. Michael's in the cafeteria. And I'll talk more about that in a minute here when I get to the review page. If you want to get to the midterm review, you can go down to the previous announcement that I posted before the March break, and you can see the midterm review right here. And then you can see a literacy practice test and an answer booklet where you can fill in your answers. So you could do an Ontario literacy practice test if you'd like. This is a good warm up for our exam. But I'm going to focus on the midterm review page, which is right here. If I also shared it with you through email, I believe as well too. But if we take a look, this is our midterm review. And so our midterm exam date is 12:45 on Thursday, March 26th. So it is important that you do come to school on that day and that you do write the exam and that you are on time. The writing the midterm and the final exam is mandatory. So if there's any reason why you cannot write the exam on this date, it's extremely important that you let me know ahead of time. And so I'm hoping that anyone that's not going to be here has already talked to me about that. I know, for example, that a few students in this OLC class have another exam scheduled at the same time. I know that students that are in the OLC class, a few of you have the ENG 3E course as well too, which is having an exam on the same day. So I believe I've spoken to students about this, but if there's anyone else that's in that situation, please let me know and we can talk about it. But again, you must speak with me ahead of time. Other than that, I expect everyone to be present at 12:45 on Thursday. The exam is being written in the St. Michael's cafeteria. So if you are new to St. Michael's, if this is your first course with us, what you'll see is when you come in the front door of St. Michael's, just to the right, you can't miss it. As soon as you walk in the front door, the cafeteria is right there on your right. So if you go into the cafeteria when you come in on Thursday, I should hopefully be there waiting. I am doing not only the OLC exam, but I'm also doing another exam at the same time for my grade 12 English course. And Miss Vanessa, another St. Michael's teacher, is doing her English exam in the cafeteria at the same time. So it's important that you do show up on time and that you do bring photo ID, as it says right here, so that I can verify who you are and make sure that you get the right exam. So it's important that you're on time. Show me photo ID to identify yourself, and then we can get you started with the exam. Some of the rules for the exam. The exam is written entirely on paper, so there is no electronic devices allowed during the exam. So no Chromebooks, no cell phones, no laptops, no translators, no electronic devices of any kind during the exam. You will not be allowed to use your notes or any of your own paper. I will provide you with as much paper as you need. So if you need extra paper, just stick up a hand, let me know during the exam, and I will have paper for you. The only thing that you really need to bring is, again, bring photo ID, but also bring a pencil, pen, whatever you need to write the exam, an eraser, whatever you like. But aside from that, you don't need to bring anything else. I'll provide everything else that you need. You will have 2 hours to write the exam. So the goal is to have everyone arrive at 12:45 to get everyone registered and started by 1 o'clock. And then you have from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock to write the exam. If for some reason something happens and we start the exam late, like at 1:05, I promise you I will still give you 2 hours. You will have till 3:05, right? So no matter what, you will get your 2 hours. But the goal is to get you started as soon as we can, and then to give you until 3 o'clock, which is when the school closes. If you come to the exam late, I cannot give you extra time. So if you come late, you'll have to write the exam in a shorter amount of time. So keep that in mind. You want to be here on time. All right, what else can I say? I think that's pretty good with the location and time and rules. In terms of the format, what will the exam look like? So there's going to be 4 parts to your exam: Part A, B, C, and D. And Part A will be related to identifying and explaining course concepts. So I will take things that we've covered in this course on our website, things like reading strategies, and I will ask you, a question about them and have you explain yourself, showing me that you understand the concepts, the ideas that we've talked about in this course so far. Okay, so Part A is very much what I would call content. It's just, can you show me that you understand what you have learned in the course so far? And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the content part of the exam here in a minute. The second part of the exam is going to be a reading response. So you're going to have to show me that you can read a news report and answer questions. You've already done this for me once. You did this for me in Unit 1, Activity 3, where you had to read a news report. There was a choice. There was 2 news reports, and you had to pick one, and you had to, well, did I give you 2? I forget. Yeah, I think I did. And then you had to answer some questions based on the news report. So that's Part B. You have to show me that you can read a news report and answer a few questions. A couple of the questions will probably be multiple choice, where you'll circle the correct answer. And then a couple of the questions will be what we call short answer, where you have to give me a few sentences to answer the question. Part C is a reading response with an infographic. So when I say an infographic, I mean a combination of images and words. So we've looked at infographics in Unit 1 already. You've looked at examples of them. And so I will expect you to be able to look at an infographic and, read it, and then be able to answer some questions. Again, a few of the questions will be multiple choice, and probably 1 or 2 of the questions will be short answer, where you have to write a few sentences. Okay. There's not a lot of writing in these sections. This is mostly reading something and showing me that you understand what you read. Okay. The main writing part of the exam is going to be writing a series of paragraphs. So many of you, some of you have already handed yours in, and some of you are finishing yours up, hopefully right now. But in Unit 1, Activity 5, the last activity of Unit 1, you had to write a series of paragraphs. Well, you had to write it. You had to write your rough copy in Activity 4, and you had to write a good copy in Activity 5. I'm going to ask you to write another series of paragraphs on your exam. You will not have to write 5 paragraphs. On your assignment that you had to write for me, you had to write 5 paragraphs. On the exam, I'll only expect 3 paragraphs. And so you'll see in the instructions, it'll ask you for a series of paragraphs, but you do not have to write me a full 5 paragraphs. 3 paragraphs should be able to answer the question. But the goal is going to be to establish your opinion. I'm going to give you a topic that anyone should be able to come up with an opinion for, and then you're going to give me a written answer where you, Okay. And then you're going to give me a written answer in a series of 3 paragraphs. That's going to be the goal. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the content. Uh, what else can I say? The exam content. So this is what to study. So I listed what we did in the activities. Anything that's not listed here, if you're reading through the website and you're saying, there's this topic in activity 2, but Derek didn't list it on the review page. Well, if it's not on this page, I promise you it will not be on the exam. Okay. So the topics I'll expect you to know is I'll expect you to know text forms and features. So I'll expect you to know the different types of texts and the different features that are in texts. So like if you're looking at a news article would be a form, right? A novel, a comic book, an infographic. These are all different forms, right? The features are the different parts of those texts. So if you're looking at a news report, some of the features would be the headline, the photo, the date. You have the different parts of the news report. Those are the features. Okay. Again, if you go back to Unit 1, Activity 1, you'll see an explanation of forms and features. I'll also expect you to identify main ideas and supporting details. You'll probably have to do this when you're looking at either the infographic or the news report. I'll probably challenge you to identify the main idea and supporting details. So it's important that you remember and understand main idea and supporting details. The main idea, if I ask you to identify the main idea, you should be able to identify the main idea in one sentence. You should be able to summarize the main idea of a text in one sentence. And then the supporting details are the details, the facts, the numbers, the quotations, any sort of the examples, right? Anything that they give to support the main idea. And so I would expect you to be able to identify the main idea in one sentence and then find supporting details that back up the main idea. We did talk a little bit about goal setting, and we talked about SMART, SMART. This is an idea for how to set goals. You might want to remember what SMART means. Again, you can find it out in Unit 1, Activity 2. I would not ask you a big question about goal setting. If I did, this would probably be like a multiple choice or like a small question out of 1 or 2 marks. Okay. But do remember SMART because it is an important term that hopefully we remember and can use into the future when we're trying to set goals in our own lives. Reading comprehension strategies. I will definitely have a question in the first part of the test that will ask you something about reading comprehension strategies. So you wrote a journal for me where you had to kind of summarize and talk about the reading strategies that you learned in Unit 1, Activity 2. I would definitely go back and take a look and make sure you're comfortable and that you can briefly explain the different types of reading strategies. Okay, because I will mention reading strategies or ask you to write about reading strategies on the exam. Activity 3 was paragraph structure. So it goes over the paragraph burger and it talks about topic sentence, body sentences, concluding sentence. So I would expect you to know the basic parts of a paragraph. Of course, you're going to have to write for me a series of paragraphs. So you're going to have to show me your paragraph writing ability on the exam. In Activity 3, there is some examples and some discussion about infographics. You probably want to go and take a look at that because, as I said, you're going to have to read an infographic on the exam and answer some questions. So you're going to have to show me that you understand it. What else can I say here? Activity 4 and 5 was all about the writing process. So I would expect you to remember that the writing process is brainstorm, organize, write, edit, rewrite. And you went through all of those steps in Activity 4 and Activity 5 when you wrote your series of paragraphs for me. Okay, so you've already practiced brainstorm, organize, write, edit, review, rewrite. On your midterm exam, you're not going to have the chance to do all of these steps, all in process. You're not going to have a chance to brainstorm, organize, rewrite again, like you can when you're at home. You're going to have to be able to write me a series of paragraphs right there on the exam. So don't try in part D here. Don't try to write me 3 paragraphs in rough and then try to rewrite it again and then rewrite it a third time. You're not going to have time to do that. I know that you don't have a chance on the exam to check your spelling and grammar as much as you would at home. I do have to grade your communication in your series of paragraphs. But the important thing is that you show me that you can write proper sentences in proper paragraph form and that you can give me an opinion and support it with examples. Okay. So don't overthink it. There is no right answer for the expressing an opinion paragraphs. You can give me an opinion. Someone else in the class can give me a completely different opinion on the topic I give you, and then you both can do very well, because the opinion doesn't matter. It's how do you support yourself and how well do you write your answer. Okay. So again, there's no right or wrong necessarily with that question. And that's about it. Like I said, anything that's not mentioned here will not be on your exam. I can promise you that. I gave you some practice examples here, some websites that you can take a look at. So just a second. So if we take a look here, you've got a practice literacy test that you can take a look at. You've got a video tutorial about how to read an infographic and how to read a news report. So again, these are 2 things that you're going to have to do on your midterm. So you can take a look at that and you can get some pointers, some ideas. You've got answering multiple choice questions, because there will be some multiple choice questions. I will give you 4 possible answers and you will choose the one right answer. And then planning your writing video. This might just be a helpful video for when you're thinking about and planning your series of paragraphs on the exam. I will say this: if I go back to the announcement, I did post an example of an old literacy test. This is the actual literacy test that high school students write, not just in the course, but like the official literacy test from the government. So you can click on a practice test, and then there's an answer booklet where you can actually answer the questions and use it as a practice exam. So if I open that up, you can see here's questions. And so it will give you some questions and some answers. It gives you some practice multiple choice questions based on a reading. It's got a practice news article here. It's got, what do we got here? I think this is a story, which I'm not going to ask you about on the exam. You're only going to have to do a news article and an infographic. But here's an example of an infographic. And then you've got some questions based on it. So you can do some practice here. I'm not going to give you the same infographic on your exam, and I'm not going to give you the same news article, for example, but these give you an idea of the types of reading that you'll have to do and the types of questions that you'll have to answer. Okay. So that's what we're looking for if you want to look at that as a practice exam. All right, so that, I think, is everything I wanted to say. And now what I'll do is I will open it up to questions. And if anyone has any questions, let me know. If you'd prefer to not ask a question right now and to wait till I stop the recording, we can do that. But if you'd like to ask any questions on behalf of the whole class now, please go ahead. If not, that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the recording, And then if anyone wants to stick around and ask me any questions, you can. Okay, so let me